Well, good morning and welcome everyone to another traffic and parking webinar of this great series that Landor LINKS are running. Today's webinar is on Not Another App, and we'll explain all that as we go along. For those who don't know me, I'm Nick Lester-Davis. I've had a long history in parking, so it's a particular interest for me to be chairing this webinar. And as we go along, we will be having firstly a video from Solutionlabs, who have prepared Not Another App. Then Dwayne Hodge-Stubbs from Solutionlabs and Mark Moran, who you all know from Parking Review, will be having a discussion. Then I will bring in the distinguished panel that we have to want to comment on this: Angela Patel from Sandwell Council, Andrew Potter from Parking Perspectives, and Paul Nikas, who's a well-known consultant in parking. And then it will be your turn to ask your questions. Can I remind you to ask your questions using the question box, and we'll pull up the questions as we go through. Well, it's an interesting proposal that we have in front of us today from Solutionlabs. They've got a completely new product designed to allow users the flexibility to use their favorite parking app for any given car park. It's been devised to end the need for car parks and kerbside bays in towns or cities or destinations to be tied to a specific phone parking provider. And Solutionlabs says its concept could mean that drivers will be liberated from the need to have a number of different parking apps on their smartphone and let them pay with the service they prefer, that local authorities and car park operators will be freed from having to sign exclusive deals with just one phone parking provider. The geographic range of existing phone parking providers will be extended into towns and cities they currently don't serve, and the parking market will be opened up to a wider range of cashless parking providers. Well, let's see how it all goes. Let's start with the video that Solutionlabs have put forward. It'll last about 2 minutes, and let's see how it goes.
The user experience should be at the heart of the product. You should start from the customer first and then build around the customer. I think that's got to be that should always be the way of every product that's been developed. It isn't in a lot of cases. A lot of companies will come up with a commercial idea, then they would come up with the product, then they would come up with the features, and then the customer or the user experience is sometimes secondary, somewhere down the road. And we just don't think that's the right approach. I'm Dwayne Hodge-Stubbs. I'm the co-founder of Solutionlabs, primarily focused on the technical and product development side of the business. But I've always seen my role with Solutionlabs as more the keeper of the vision. Our ethics is driven purely by our empathetic approach, again, to the car park user and as well as the end client. Based on thousands of users a month, we gained some really good insights from our tap-to-park customers. Given the feedback and everything we learned, we felt there was a concept and a platform that allows the motorist to have their favorite app. They don't have to download another app, and so they can use that same app as they move between town, between borough, between work, anywhere. It allows the customer the freedom to use their favorite app. The onus isn't on the local authority or public sector to choose the app provider, because the customer makes the choice. The Not Another App platform is going to be open to all app providers, innovative startup to the incumbent number one. We're going to give them data like they've never had before. And so it's down to the app providers to make their app the best app, because customers are always going to want to use the best app. When a motorist enters the car park, they shouldn't have to think about how they're going to pay. They should be able to get their phone out, choose the app they're familiar with, make their payment, and get on with their day. It should be as simple as that.
Well, that was a fascinating video which prompted lots of questions. I'm going to start by asking Mark Moran to talk with Dwayne Hodges-Stubbs, who's the founder of Solutionlabs. And I think, Mark, your discussion with Dwayne hopefully will answer some of the questions before we even get going.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Welcome to perhaps another webinar, but it's slightly different in that we're kind of looking at a theme based on a proposition put forward by Solutionlabs. And it's actually intriguing because so far, other than the video, we don't really know much more than what's been presented in the film. And even if you check their website, there's a countdown. So I think I'm going to be asking questions like you're asking as well. I can hear marching. So, but, so first of all, maybe if Dwayne, perhaps give a quick little pen portrait of who are Solutionlabs, because not everyone might know who the company is, although they might be aware of some of the things you do.
No, hi Mark. Well, thanks. Welcome everyone for join us for the discussion today. Well, Solutionlabs, we started in 2014, and we started with the concept of bringing. We started in the notice processing and AMPR, and we then migrated into the cashless parking. So effectively, what we want to do is create the full circle of solutions for parking operators. So it was technically a one-stop shop for everything they need to help them win bigger and better contracts. And out of that, we've received through our Tap to Park, which we'll touch on in a moment, with our Tap to Park solution, the feedback from our customers, which has led on to us developing the product over the past 12 months.
So, I mean, obviously you've developed, you say you've developed a solution in response to a kind of consumer demand or an identified problem, rather than just having we built something and maybe people want to use it. I mean, what is the actual kind of problems that you've identified that?
Well, there's three complex problems that we've looked to resolve, and that's the customer entering the car park, it's the app provider, and it's the local authority. Which one, Mark, should I address first?
Perhaps maybe from the position of the driver, perhaps, because they're the
driver
around.
So as we alluded to in the video, the Not Another App platform will allow the driver to enter the car park, to open their app. If the app doesn't tell them where they are, they look at the signpost, enter the code, and make the payment in the usual way, and use all the features of the app they currently enjoy. So the Not Another App platform is actually invisible to the car park user. So this then removes that frustration of them having to download other apps as they move around, maybe the borough or their place of work, or wherever they move around the country. They can use the app they prefer anywhere they go.
And so effectively, your you say your solution or platform, or whatever describe it, that's invisible, but you're providing the signage and the infrastructure that goes around all the codes.
Well, we'll be visible to the app providers and to the local authorities stroke private parking operator. From the app provider's point of view, as we said in the video, we want to bring them more customers. These teams have been creating these great apps for the past 10 years. They're great apps, so we want to give them better exposure. We want to get their app in front of more people, and let the customer choose which is the best app.
So, in terms of what the actual kind of what you're providing is it in parallel? I mean, sort of like if I own a car park or a local authority, so how do I actually use your system either instead of or in parallel to perhaps the relationship I already have?
What we're going to do is we're going to manage the relationship with the app providers and the payment methods over this side, And on this side, what we've developed is we're using the global cloud providers to provide a platform whereby we can take that data the moment the customer makes the payment and transfer that directly into the enforcement or the parking platform of the local authority in nanoseconds. And in return, we're going to pass back to the app providers real-time data. We're going to give them occupancy data. We're going to give them customer trends so they can continue to improve their app based on all the data that's coming in from the car park.
So if you're so basically, you're kind of going to be providing all the area codes and things, because obviously at the moment you might have supplier A.
Absolutely. Ideally,
so how are they all going to know which codes to use, etc.?
Well, again, our vision is on the signpost. You'll have, like you do now, you'll have the local authority's name. You'd have the entry code, and then maybe the logos or the people, the apps that then support that car park.
Okay, and then so if you're a kind of a incumbent or an existing provider, might be saying, well, we kind of already can do that, so why would we cooperate with you in a new market where we're not in yet, because you're kind of possibly in competition with us in some ways, as well as extending our range?
Well, I'd say we're not in direct competition, because we're actually going to be bringing them more customers. I think the consequence of the past 10 years and the customers that have been demanding a cashless service, but through the tendering process, they see this monopoly whereby there's only one app provider through the whole demographic. So we're saying, why can't there be a system that allows the customer to choose whichever app they prefer, that downloads the data in live data where possible in real time, but again passes data back to the app providers so they can continually develop and improve their proposition. And that's what we're working hard to do.
I mean, it sounds like there are sort of parallels in what Cambridgeshire has done, where they have had 3 app or payment channel providers. Is that a similar scenario?
Absolutely. We know, we believe this is the evolution in parking payments. I think as it's one of the only industries left where you are restricted to having one app in different areas as you move around. And as we said in the video, we just believe that the next evolution is to allow customers the choice to choose their preferred app, and that could be a number of things: ease of use, offers, loyalty schemes. It could be absolutely anything. I think the future for app developers, with the data we're going to provide them, is going to revolutionise the next step in customer experience app development.
You're pointing in some ways to, well, the counterpart for this would be a change in attitude amongst maybe specifiers, car park providers being open to opening up to more, to actually want a pluralistic approach rather than going down the traditional route. But I mean, you've done some market research, obviously, or to take your feedback from users of your have you tested the market amongst the providers? Is there a willingness to do this?
Yeah, as you may know, we've got our own cashless solution called Tap to Park. We've got tens of thousands of users a month. And in the past 2 years, we've been asking them questions. One being, how can we make the Tap to Park experience better? Secondly, we've been asking questions in the generic parking industry. And what's shone through is this underlying frustration is, why can't I use X app on this site, or why can't I use your app on this site? And it seems to be this underlying message. So not another app has been purely developed from this customer feedback, and we're using this empathetic approach of the car park user that has driven this ethical innovation and created this product.
And then on the car park providers side, would you be looking at private sector and public sector, and have you had any positive or interesting feedback from anyone?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been testing this and bench testing this for over a year, and we've been putting up. We're working with a partner to put high volume transactions through multiple apps, and as well as we're trying to get real-time apps from pay and display machines and all these things that we've been working on for a year to get this through, because we're going to be simplifying the entire process on behalf of the landowner and public sector. You know, and we're expecting, you know, the app providers to engage with the Not Another App platform, because again, we're bringing them more customers and we're bringing them more data like they never had before. I mean, we're going to soon see who has confidence in their app, because they're going to want to join the Not Another App platform.
So if I'm a car park owner or a local authority, what I'm looking at with you is you're going to provide either a link to my enforcement back office or like permit systems and things like that. You'll be sitting there as another module and looking after the coding and things like that.
Absolutely, we're going to completely take care of all the app providers on this side, and we're going to take their data, we're going to simplify it and push it directly into their notice processing system. So this is going to build things like, you know, redundancy, reliability, champion challenge. So at the moment, if an app provider goes down, the whole demographic's offline, and the local authority, the public sector, and the parking operator is losing revenue. With this, it provides multiple choice. So there's other options for the customer to pay, because customers ultimately do want to pay for parking. So it removes that you know, the follow up of, you know, customer complaints, frustration, etc. I mean, yeah, app providers to improve reliability and improve their app.
And how about if I would say, well, sort of like there is a degree to which existing providers and things will customize or just develop new ideas, maybe like we have emissions-based processes and things that have developed perhaps in response initially perhaps to desires of some authorities. How are you going to, how are you going to be able to kind of ensure that maybe a borough wants to develop its own slightly bespoke version of a payment channel?
The good thing is because we're going to be working directly with the app provider, and we're going to understand exactly what the end client wants, or the local authority and public sector, we'll be able to direct them and again help them with the data and push the app providers to provide that features and those functionalities within their app. Because each setup is probably going to be slightly bespoke and slightly unique. But you know, we want to encourage the apps to get better. We want to encourage the park experience to get better. And I think through good data and a champion challenge competition, and you know, improving our reliability and all these things that we're bringing to bear, you know, I think this is the platform that's going to increase and improve the industry in general, I believe.
I know it's still kind of get your own real world, but so what happens, say, if you arrive and you don't find your app listed, however it's going to be presented? How do you cope with a driver who goes, I can't find my app, which I like to use?
This is exactly what we're saying. We expect all the app providers to be part of the Not Another App platform, because you know, if you think about it, we're bringing them more customers, we're bringing them more data. So you know, we're expecting the app providers, whoever they are, from the incumbent number one to the top three, right the way down to, I don't know, a parking operator branded only apps, you know, to all be part of the platform. So if I have your app, I prefer your app, I can make my payment and just get on with my day. So I don't even need to think about it.
So, well, I think I can probably hear my panelists in the wings. Nick's just appeared, so I think we'll let the panelists now have a bit of a chat, having heard our initial discussion. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Mark. I'm fascinated by what Dwayne has explained. In some respects, it's very similar to a proposal that I was trying to organize in London when parking by phone, paying by phone, was just starting out, where we wanted a single hub that everybody could log into, and you didn't have to be part of one system or another. And it turned out to be a lot more difficult than we had expected, and didn't happen at the time as a consequence. One of the things, of course, that we do have a tool now available is parking data standards. And I wonder, Dwayne, if you could say if you use the APDS standards in developing your hub.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, well, we've got we do have the framework, and we're working towards making that compliant. At the moment, we're using the data that's provided from the app providers themselves to use that as a conduit to send that onto the end parking enforcement software. So we're aware of the framework, and we've got the current guidelines that we're working towards, because, like I say, a universal framework is naturally the way forward. But at the moment, we also need the app providers to be up to speed with the current export of data in that format to bring it in.
Yeah, well, that's the value of the APDS standards, and I wondered if those are the ones you're using.
We are, yeah, we're using that, but at the moment, we're using that as the core for underpinning. But we're conscious of the data we're currently getting from the suppliers and versus the data we can pass over to the enforcement software. So, but underlying that, what we want to do is push the standard as much as possible.
The other difficulty we found in trying to develop a hub in London was getting the business model right. And one of the things that wasn't clear to me from the discussion so far is what's actually your business model? Who pays you and who pays what?
Well, each commercial deal and each setup is, of course, going to be bespoke. We're hard to make this as cost neutral as possible to the local authorities. We're going to be working. We've got global cloud providers. We're working with NMI as a payment gateway. We've got a lot of technology we're putting into the platform to make that transition. Again, we've moved. Technology moved on probably since when you started your experiment, Nick. So we're using technology to take the data and to move, and bringing compliancy, transparency, and all those things to the client.
But however much technology has moved in, someone's still got to pay for you. Yeah. And you were saying that it's going to be cost neutral for the local authorities, so it's not them. So who is paying for you?
Well, what we'll be looking to do is we will probably, again, what I don't want to do is get too bogged down in the commercials at the moment. What we'd like to do is engage with people offline of this meeting, because each project will be unique. So each potential requirement that we bring in will probably be unique. So therefore, the charging structure is going to be unique and for each use case. I would suggest, based on whatever the local authority require.
Okay, let me bring in the panel now. Let me start with Anjana Patel. Many of you will know Anjana from Parking Manager from Sandwell. And Anjana, what would you like to ask Dwayne, or what would you like to comment on the proposals?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dwayne. I think Nick has alluded to some of the things that I was going to actually question and ask. Is the cost element that is at the front end of local authorities? Local authorities obviously have to go with the legal framework where they have to approve the charges in their car parks at the moment, but they also have a transparency issues which they have to address, and people will question what the extra cost they are paying. You are adding another layer on top of what the providers do. You alluded to the model. There it provides a choice to customers which provider they're going to use, depending on what customer experience they have and the service they have. So your likes of Just Park, AppyY, Ringo, Pay by Phone, they all provide unique services. You are adding a layer on top of that, so that is an added cost which has to come out of somewhere. And why can't people just go to the providers that are already in existence? You have not identified the add-on costs there, which if local authorities aren't paying for it, customers certainly will be paying for it. And I think we would need to know upfront what kind of costs we are looking at. Also, doesn't this create a monopoly? Because if all payments are going through your app, doesn't this create monopoly, which is not fair really, because it provides you the whole platform and others cannot break into that market?
To answer the monopoly question at the moment, there is currently a monopoly. It's most of the things is down to who is best at winning tenders as opposed to who has the best app. So what we're creating is the ability where, there's more choice, there's more customer choice. So the load is spread across multiples. We're actually opening up competition to the app providers, so they're competing with each other for more customers to become the best customer. Again, we're happy to have many conversations with regards to the commercials. I mean, we don't want to give too much away on a webinar when it comes to our secret sauce, but what we'd like to do is have the local authorities contact us to alleviate some of these concerns, and we can share with them exactly what our proposal is and our plan is with regards to how the Not Another App platform is going to work commercially for them.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much on that one.
Can I now introduce Andrew Potter, who's Director of Parking Perspectives? Andrew.
Hi, good morning. Dwayne, I want to focus on one particular question, really. There are many around the commercials and the setup. I think from what we've learned so far, there's nothing there that I think can't already be done by one of the back office providers, and in fact, maybe some of the extended app providers as well. So what, purely from a technological point of view, talk about the commercials no doubt later, but purely technologically, what does this app offer that couldn't be done, notwithstanding the tendering process and the contracts that are set up, by an incumbent?
Hi, Andrew. Thanks. Well, what we've done is we use a lot of the apps now, and the providers, they create great apps. They create great solutions for car park operators, which is why we want to get their apps in front of more people. What they are is singularly focused on their customers and their direct app. What we want to do is why would they want to introduce competition into their own tendering process? What we want to do with our technology is we're taking the complexity of the app providers here, we're simplifying it, and we're passing it back to the parking operator. So we're using the latest global cloud providers that are we've got our own bespoke multi-concurrent programming smarts on top of this, and we're looking to push the parking display and display machines also to provide us live data now, and as well as the permit solutions. We're going to be bringing all the data into one platform, so we can give that data back to the app providers to help them again, like we said, with occupancy data, with customer trends, and all these things that they may not have yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure that many of the incumbent platforms don't already do that and have that capability. I'm still not sure technologically what there is here that can't already be provided by one of the mainstream platforms.
Well, again, we believe we've got a value proposition we've developed this over 12 months. Again, software is software, a process is a process. This is the concept that we've visualized through our customer feedback, and if they could already do it, then why haven't they already done it? Why haven't they put the customer first as into the car park? Why haven't they said, I've won this tender to provide cashless solutions to this demographic, let me open this up to as many app providers as possible? They haven't done it.
Well, they haven't, because the contracts and the commercials don't make that necessarily the way to progress at the moment. I mean, that's not a technological reason.
No,
that's contractual and a tendering reason, which I'll stop speaking now and let one of the other panelists perhaps develop that.
Thanks, Andrew. Can I now bring in Paul Nikas, who's an independent parking consultant? Again, many of you will know. Paul, what's your take on this? What questions do you have for Dwayne?
Well, clearly, thanks, Nick. And clearly, it's great from the customer's perspective to see any development that's got its focus on improving the customer experience and making it easier for a customer to find and pay for parking. And obviously, it's frustrating. You'll know about this in London. If you're parking in an area and you go around the corner from where you usually park, you find you've got to have a different app to use to pay for your parking. So yeah, so clearly some idea of convergence of systems and sharing of data is a positive. And as you've alluded to, the Alliance for Parking Data Standards is already out there and making inroads to, to set up this kind of a platform. So I'm not entirely sure how the two things would work together, and I'd like to know a bit more about that. But I think my particular concern comes back to this issue of costs and how the costs are borne by the different parties. Paying for parking and processing parking payments cashlessly involves various costs and charges, to operators and local authorities and to the end customers. You've got your setup and your marketing costs, you've got your transaction costs, the processing costs, and convenience charges as they're called. They're the costs of doing business, and it's a pretty crowded and competitive market there. And we've seen how costs have come down, and different strategies have been deployed to share those costs. Some councils passing those things on to customers, or some others absorbing those convenience charges. And what I'm concerned is that this might become a case of not another app, but just not another overhead for those people providing and delivering the services. So I just like to know a little bit more about how Dwayne, how you see this working from a cost point of view, and who you see as absorbing or bearing the costs.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, the customer is always going to stay with the app. We're not with the app provider. We're not having any footprint onto the customer at all. So if a customer is part of using that payment mechanism, they'll be using that payment mechanism. What we'll be doing again is simplifying the process. So we'll be taking the payments. We'll be taking the payments into our client trust, and then we'll be reconciling and passing that data back, that payment data back to the local authority. We're not the customer is not going to be paying more for their parking. So again, what we want to do, and again, I don't want to get too much into a preconception of commercials, because I think when we speak to local authorities in due course, then we'll be able to have that based on the requirements that they foresee themselves on where they want not another app, and it will it'll be clear to them how the pricing structure is going to and the commercial work. I don't want to be a bit aloof.
Thanks, Paul. Can I now bring in some of the questions from the audience, because I think they'll also address some of the points that all of the panelists have made so far. One of the questions is from Joe Smith, who says, will the platform be commercially fair for parking operators? That is, will big operators be able to pay to promote their own apps, potentially putting the smaller app operators out of business?
No, it's an open platform for all, pure and simple. We're creating an open platform for all parking operators, so for all app providers to be able to, and then it's down to them to promote their own apps directly and to become better, because the best app will always win. The customers will choose the best app. So it may be, again, ease of use, loyalty schemes, discount codes, all these things that will inevitably come out of this champion challenge competition, including improved reliability, etc., etc. So no, it will be an open platform for all.
Now, Heather Grieve asked the question, what app providers have you already engaged with?
Okay, well, we've in the development of the Not Another App platform over the past 12 months, we have been using again high volume sites with multiple app providers on there. Again, I don't want to give any confidentiality or commercial promises away, because we're probably held under contract, but we've been working with a few to get this high volume data to stress test this system.
But you haven't got any actually operating as yet?
We have a site where we do have a number of app providers currently on the system. Again, that's why we're saying we're expecting from this webinar that we're going to be engaging with more app providers who can see the benefit of having more customers and being part of the Not Another App platform.
But from the driver's point of view, there's nothing actually working in reality as yet.
We do have a site where we do have multiple apps. Yeah, where we do have the concept of the Not Another App, again, that we've been running for a year. Yeah.
Can you tell us where that is so that people nearby can go and look at it?
No, I'm not.
So it's a secret car park that actually know. A number of other questions that have come up. John Van Dyke says that this looks just like a copy of the Dutch National Parking Register. Is that just the case?
Well, I don't. Again, I think anything. This concept, the concept has been around for a long time. All we've done is quantify the concept because it doesn't appear that anybody else in the UK is doing this at the moment, or they're trying to do it, which is only going to be good ultimately for the car park user. So that's the driving factor, is to make the car park experience forgettable. And that's the beauty behind it, is that you will actually go into the car park, make your payment, and just get on with your day, not even thinking about it. But behind that is the complexity of the system, which simplifies the process for the local authority and the parking operator.
Ian Barrock asks, I'm currently working with an authority who's never had mobile phone parking. How could you provide mobile phone parking to them, considering they have no preferred provider yet, but want to offer every app to everyone visiting?
Well, this is perfect, isn't it? This is exactly what Not Another App is designed for, because now they've got the ability to be able to give customers the direct choice of which app they're gonna use. And so if people outside of the area come in and they've got an app they already use, they'll be able to use it straight away. So again, it makes that whole car park experience better for both parties.
Harry Clark asks, if you're taking the payment, are you holding millions of customer card details in a vault you control? And
no.
If so, can you explain how you get the payment from the driver to the operator without having their card details?
Well, they don't forget the payment will always be through the current app provider. The customer will always remain with the app provider, so they will enjoy the same benefits and the same payment processing. And for the customers or for the operators that don't have a merchant account set up, we've got the global payment provider NMI on board. We're going to be able to open. Don't forget, this platform isn't just about the current apps. The platform is now going to be able to open up to things like SMS billing, so people can just text to pay for parking. Automated vehicles, where people do within their vehicle, they'll be able to just pay within their car. So we're future-proofing the concept of paying for parking.
I mean, that leads on to a question that Simon Chung has asked, which is, who is the customer? Is it NAA or is it the app provider? And who would deal with any bad customer experience?
At the moment, as it traditionally is, the motorist will pay and use the app that they're for. If they have a bad experience, they will probably find another app and use another app to use.
But if the bad experience is a result of a failure between you and the car park operator, that's not the app's responsibility.
No, absolutely, but that should be hidden, don't we? That will probably be hidden from the direct customer. Again, we've built redundancies, and we're using the best practice of data transfer. That's why we've been stress testing for over a year. We're taking all the app providers and we're simplifying the data transfer between them and the notice processing or the enforcement platform, and we're building multi redundancies within this system to ensure we're working we've got 99.9999% SLAs in place
Right, but everybody in the parking business knows that the volume of business is so much. However good high the percentage is, you're always going to have some failures along route, and you're going to deal with it. And that's important for people to know who the customer is in dealing with those. Yeah.
So again, if there is a problem, the usual which exists today, the usual things apply with regards to the customer in the car park contact the parking operator, they contact the local authority. But again, because we will know very quickly if there's a problem, we're going to be able to notify the local authority or the parking operator very quickly if there's a problem, so they can update their enforcement staff, etc., to ensure that the customer isn't affected by any potential problems.
Right. Can I ask the panel if there's any other comments that they want to make, because we're getting towards the end of the webinar. Anjna, are there any more comments from you, having heard the discussion so far?
Yeah, I just want to say, as a local, I am concerned. The last question about customer's experience, and if they have a complaint, I don't feel there is a satisfactory answer there from you, Joanne, because the way you answered it, it was abdication of your responsibility. You are saying if there is a problem, it's between the provider and the app itself, but overarchingly, you are the person who's provided that platform, and I believe you should be the first one to pick it up and run with it. And you should.
No, absolutely. That's what I was alluding to, with the fact of, we're fully aware of our responsibility, which is exactly why we're building in these redundancies. We're working with transparency and a high compliance. But because we're invisible to the car park operator, they're always going to revert to. We're invisible to the car park user. Sorry, they're always going to revert, like they do now, to the to the local authority and the private parking operator. All we're going to be doing is being able to alert them quicker that there is a potential problem. So the issues for the car park user with regards to being issued notices, etc., is mitigated.
Andrew, any further comments from you?
No, Nick, I think I'll stay with my previous point in that I think that there's insufficient differentiator that I see at the moment that would justify any of the existing systems held by local authorities to say that they wanted to introduce another tier. I'm yet to be convinced on that. There's a cost there, and I haven't seen or don't necessarily believe there's a sufficient willingness to pay amongst users to have what is a convenience of being able to use the same app perhaps in many different locations, but are users, or if not users, are local authorities prepared to pay that extra for that convenience? And that's why I suggest maybe we've got the tender models we have at the moment, because they are the most cost effective perhaps. That's my comment.
That's why we're saying there's no extra cost. We're in cost neutral. What I'd like to do, Andrew, is maybe take this offline after this conversation. Maybe engage in a further conversation afterwards. We believe there is a great differentiation with what we're doing versus what everybody else is doing. We're going to be increasing reliability. We're going to be increasing competition. We're going to make the car park experience much better for the people that use the car park. So no. I think on top of this platform, you're going to see significant change with regards to the customer experience in parking. And I'd like to explore that further with you offline if we
okay, that's fine.
Well, let's give Paul his last word. Paul?
Thanks very much, Nick. Like I say, as I said originally, I'm very supportive of anything which makes the customer experience better. From my local authority experience, I would recommend and advise you to have very long conversations with procurement and IT departments and finance departments representatives who understand their perspective on issues like sharing data and managing confidentiality, and I wish you the best of luck with that. But I would imagine you have a tough challenge in satisfying their requirements with what you're proposing.
No, Paul, thank you. Yeah, that invaluable feedback. Absolutely, we take that. We absolutely take that on board. You know, again, we believe with what we're doing. You know, we're already engaged with the ITO. We've got, you know, a high compliance team, etc. You know, again, we're not touching customer data at all. But so we think, you know, our the data we're passing back and forth is actually going to be more of a footprint as opposed to an occupancy, etc., as opposed to any major compliance problems. But honestly, thank you for your feedback.
And Mark, any last words from you?
Well, I've noticed the quite nice questions from Susan McGarry at Harrogate. She's saying, is there a flow chart of how it works? I'm still a bit confused, but you know, the video didn't really.
What was the lady's name? Sorry, what was the lady's name?
Susan McGarry. So she's a local authority manager, and I think a request for a flow chart. I mean, and I think what my probably not so much, but is kind of interesting. You've obviously got quite a lot of interest in attendees, because I think there is obviously an intriguing proposition and a problem about
what I'd like to do. Yeah, what we'd invite people to do again with app providers as well as people that are curious more. Please contact us and let's open the dialogue and have a conversation, because I think once people see it more, they understand it more. You know, we leave concerns and all these things that we can't really touch on in too much depth in the past hour. Yeah, I think they'll be excited with what we've got to offer, and I'd encourage everybody to contact us, please, as soon as possible. That'd be great.
The other thing I was just going to say, the other analog I've come across is the world of the electric vehicle bay charging company called ZapMap, who does a kind of national grid. They just launched a Zap Pay. And the mechanics of it still probably need the flow chart, but that's an app which will allow you to access everybody else's payment portals, because otherwise you're walking around with lots of different cards or logins for different networks. So there is this issue out there, but you know, but obviously
there's a prime example of a great app that they've launched in the solution that will plug directly in to the Not Another App platform. But, yeah, ideal.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you, Dwayne, for all your explanations. I'm sure we put you on the spot a couple of bits, and thank you to all of the panel for their contributions, because I think you've helped establish that Not Another App is a very interesting concept, and like Paul, I'd say we're all in favor of things which make things easier for the user. And as Dwayne has said, they're thinking of the user first, must be good. I shall be fascinated to see how it develops. I shall be fascinated to see how it meets Dwayne's commitment that it will be cost neutral to the operators and won't cost motorists anymore either. But we'll see how that develops over the years as we go forward in the future. Can I remind everyone that the session's been recorded? It'll be on the Landor LINKS YouTube channel, so you can see it again as and when you want to. And with that, I'll say thank you very much and see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.